What's up, everybody? Welcome to NBA Crunch Time. Busy Sunday here at Rotogrinders. I'm Justin Carlucci here with Keith Eyster. My brain is melting after everything we've seen today, and we're still in the midst of our analysis because we have our NBA Crunch Time here on a 4-gamer with some late Bucks news, Keith. And of course, we will be back for our primetime showdown show as the 4 p.m. games are wrapping up here. So, Keith, how's your Sunday going, man?
Yeah, busy just like yours. We're both pulling the double, triple duty with the main slate, the NBA slate, and then the Sunday night football slate. So big day, but yeah, I don't know, kind of a gross main slate this week. Late breaking news with Ridley stepping away. Hopefully whatever he's dealing with turns out all right and he comes back, but tough situation there. But and then Jamal Williams got rolled out, so I jammed in a ton of DeAndre Swift, which did not work out at all as the Lions just got absolutely trucked. But I did play a ton of Titans and Colts game stacks. So those worked out really well. I've got a couple creeping up towards the top, but my best team has Jared Cook right now. So he's probably my best out for any kind of a sweat today. But yeah, busy day overall for sure.
Yeah, we got some time. We got 40 minutes for a 4-gamer here, and of course we'll talk about some Bucks where most of the value opened up. So, but it's kind of nice to recap what's going on and some good calls and some bad calls we had. And you know what? As a Titans fan, I really thought maybe I'd be able to coast through some of this regular season without having super high blood pressure. But the last 3 weeks have just been unbelievable. A little worried about Derrick Henry's foot. I don't know how much of that game you saw, but on my totally illegal streaming device that I own, I saw him just wasn't himself. I don't know, really crazy game. That was fun. If you listen to Food for Thought with me and Chief, we talked about Joe Bengals and Joe Burrow, and man, did they get hosed at the end of that game. Some really brutal officiating everywhere, but I went with Burrow and Chase and ran it back with Michael Carter, which was a little different way to attack that, but Carter was really used in the check down game again, which really helped me. Playing some Bobby Woods, gadget guy Bobby Woods ran one in we talk about, and I played Cole Beasley off of Devontae Smith pivot, but I played Nick Chubb, and I loved our ownership projections on Nick Chubb and just didn't get there. So top 100 in the $50 single entry on my Bengals lineup. Played really late today. The thing that surprised me the most was I got the Eagles defense for under 1%. I know they were 4,100 on FanDuel, but with how bad Detroit's been, I mean, that really kind of, I guess, bailed me out a little bit there. So the day is going to continue when we got some Bucks news, Keith, and shout out to Devin who's working the boards here, and we'll bring in Devin towards the end of the show as I like to. It was kind of like a staple of what I've been doing. It's like Devin's 2 minutes to fame kind of thing. But and of course we're waiting for Dak Prescott official news, Keith, for our next show. So we have some time to kill here. I don't know. I guess we can just dive into it. I do have a couple plugs I need to bring up, but I'll pass it back over to you. I guess just about the NFL main slate, and then talk to me about what you think is the biggest thing going on in NBA. What were you the most surprised at with NFL today on the main slate?
I mean, the Jets were the biggest surprise, but I don't know that any of that is sustainable. The Bengals just kind of choked it away. Yeah, I don't know. Just kind of ugly football today, really. The Rams continue to do great. Obviously, Henderson and Kupp were very good again. Got Woods involved a little bit. Van Jefferson caught a long one. So, I mean, that's just an elite offense for the Rams is kind of a big takeaway there. Not that we didn't already know that. What else?
Well, there's more storylines yet to come at about 8:15, so we'll have more to talk about in like an hour.
For sure. The Cowboys that's going to be interesting if Dak misses. Could be a bit of an ugly game from the Cowboys side, but we'll see what breaks there.
For sure. Let's get into this 4-game NBA slate. Man, these tiny slates, there's jacked up ownerships everywhere. So there are some ways to kind of get some edges. But it always gets tricky to play single entry type stuff. We got the Bucks news, and thanks for sticking with us. Drop some questions in the Discord chat or YouTube chat, and we will answer them in the second part of our show here. But obviously, Chris Middleton not playing is huge, and we know Brook Lopez is out as well. So the mainstays and like the constants in that rotation are Giannis. Pat Connaughton was a popular value play whenever Drew Holiday is out as well. So we're seeing some of the similar names that are going to be popular. Bobby Portis, what are we going to see out of Bobby Portis kind of thing here? Played 15 minutes against Minnesota. That was his first appearance of the year, I think, if I have a million tabs open, if I'm correct there.
It was. Yep.
Obviously, big point per minute guy, Keith, as we know. So it's like, how long is the leash going to be for Bobby Portis? I mean, if you get 20 minutes out of Bobby Portis, at 4,200 on DK, who could be, he could be the second. Who knows? I'm not sure. We don't know. He could be the second, go-to guy in this offense. I mean, you have Grayson Allen, obviously, and Connaughton outside of Giannis. So I don't know what his role is going to be, and I don't have a lean on it. It's really hard to put my finger on it, but I think he's kind of a key cog to what could happen. And the other thing is, of course, they're playing Utah. So it's not like they're playing a super high pace or a porous defense. So you have to factor in, the pace of this game too. So let's start from the top here and talk about the Bucks, because I think what you do with the Bucks is going to be integral for probably how you fare on this little 4-game slate tonight. So after that news broke, Keith, kind of where did your brain start moving in what direction?
Yeah, I mean, Giannis obviously becomes the top overall slate with Middleton's usage distributing. A lot of that's going to go to Giannis. So was considering Lillard as kind of the spend up on the slate before that news, but I think there's no question that it's Giannis now. And then we were struggling for value on the slate pretty bad before Middleton got ruled out. So, I mean, we were looking at stuff in Detroit that's pretty gross. And there wasn't a ton of value. So these Bucks guys immediately jump into the conversation. I think Connaughton is probably the safest from a minute standpoint. He's going to be out there, not the greatest producer, not the most ceiling, but he's certainly in play. Just 4,700 on DraftKings, or 44 on DraftKings, 47 on FanDuel, definitely in play. I don't have a lean on Portis either. I don't see him going over 20 minutes. I think 20 minutes would be about the max. He clearly was on a restriction last game. I can't imagine that he jumps up into the mid-20s even. So where do we have him at right now? Yeah, we've got him at 18 right now. I think that's about exactly right. He might get into 20 minutes, but anything beyond that, I think you're asking for too much. So that's a bit of a tough call. He does produce per minute, you mentioned. If it was an easier matchup, I might have more interest. But I think I'm looking more at like Noara, Grayson Allen, and even George Hill has gotten quite a bit of run here. So he is over 30 minutes the last 2 games and was in the mid-20s before that. Another guy that just doesn't produce very much, but he's going to be out there. And a lack of value on the slate, I think we've got to consider him. I think Noara is the guy I'm looking at for upside, like tournaments, 4.5K. He should be into that mid-20s for minutes, and he can score some points, fantasy points per minute for you. So I think he probably has the most upside of any of these guys. If Grayson Allen gets hot from 3, maybe he could jump into that conversation too. But you're not going to get a lot of peripherals out of Grayson Allen. So probably Noara first in tournaments. Connaughton definitely is a cash play.
I'm just looking at some game flows, and good points. That just the scary thing about Portis is we've seen him in a higher usage situation, smash in 20 minutes or whatever, but it's obviously risky. I wouldn't prefer to go there in small entry type stuff, but I'm not sure what all of the prize pools are looking like. But in larger field stuff, I mean, we haven't projected sub 20%. I don't mind having a good chunk of Bobby Portis just because of what his upside is. Of course, Noara's emergence, since the rotation is a new thing than it was last year, so that is kind of a kicker. But also, we didn't have Portis for the first five Bucks games. So what is Noara's emergence going to be like when Bobby Portis is off the leash? We don't know. Maybe it's tonight. Maybe it's in 3 games. I don't know if Noara is, what is he, the 9th man in the rotation? It's going to be interesting how it plays out. And in the back of my mind, it's like, well, I hope the Bucks just don't get like dumped on and get blown out either. Like that's like, 5 to 10% in the back of my mind here. And I try not to worry about blowouts. I mean, it's not a super ignorant point spread right now, but I don't know. We've seen funny things happen when so far this season when a team has rested like 2 of their starters, 2 plus, a bulk of their starting rotation. So when they played the Spurs, and that was what, Saturday? Was that yesterday? Yeah, October 30th. So what we saw Giannis's brother start, right? So he started with Grayson Allen, Middleton, George Hill, like you mentioned. But of course we don't have Chris Middleton tonight. So I mean, like we're gonna see Giannis at the 5. We're gonna like I don't know. It's gonna be a hodgepodge of of like playing time to try to figure out here, and it's hard to get a read on. I still and Bobby Portis did not play that game, did he? Did he play that game? Yesterday?
No, he did not actually.
Okay, so weird. Okay, well, he had some more rest, so he's not on a back-to-back, so that kind of, man, does that make me want to take a shot at Bobby Portis even more tonight. Grayson Allen, his role has been pretty consistent, right? What does he have, like 11 field goal attempts in almost every game so far? Does that have to grow now? Like you would think. Like if he gets up to that 14, 15, field goal attempts today, it's hard. Gun to head, Grayson Allen or Connaughton. I mean, we have the data on Connaughton, right? And we have what his role was. But what are the chances Grayson Allen? I don't care what projections say right now. Like, what are the chances Grayson Allen outscores Pat Connaughton tonight? Is it like a complete coin flip to you?
Oh, absolutely. I think, 50-50 complete coin flip is exactly where I'd put it.
And we'll go game by game here, folks, by the way, since there's only 4 of them. But yeah, go ahead. Carry on. Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, I was just going to say, because it's so shooting dependent for both of them, that one of them gets hot from the field and they're going to outscore the other one. So definitely a coin flip.
That's true. Giannis is my top play. I think you mentioned that he's yours still, right? Obviously, with everything going on. So I don't know. I knew Giannis against Utah was kind of a thing, and I couldn't remember exactly what it was. So I typed in I use StatMuse sometimes to look up just some random stuff, when you don't feel like sifting through a million game logs. Last 3 years against Utah, 6 games. Giannis's worst game in terms of FanDuel points is 51. So wow. 51, 53, 58, 65, 76, 81 against Utah. So, I mean, I feel like these forwards can be exploited in terms of athleticism. Oh, Joe Ingles, Bogdanovich, Royce O'Neal. It doesn't I know I'm looking at individual matchups here, which I'm more about targeting game environment. But when you have 4 games, much like kind of like showdown slates, you can really try to dissect some things. Some people have varying opinions on game environment or individual matchups, but clearly there's a mismatch with Giannis and Utah, despite Rudy Gobert, despite the slow pace that the Jazz play at. So I'm not overthinking it. Giannis is my top play here in this game. How do you rate value pieces here with the multi-position eligibility on both sites now? Thanks, FanDuel. You have all these guys we mentioned: Grayson Allen, Pat Connaughton, Bobby Portis, Nwora are all in that like 4K to 5K range. Like, can you rank them in terms of upside for us? Can I put you on the spot here?
Yeah, I can try. It's really my best guess at this point. I mean, I think Grayson Allen has more upside than Connaughton just because he's going to shoot more and probably shoot more 3-pointers. But yeah, I mean, both of those are neck and neck probably as the number one option for me. And then Portis is another wild card in there because we just don't know how much he's going to play. If there's upside on this 18-minute projection, he's going to jump right into that conversation with them too as well. But because we haven't seen it yet, I'd probably have him third for tonight. I'm very interested in Jordan Nwora as well. And then George Hill is another one that I think is going to see a lot of the floor, but does lack the upside. So officially I'd go Allen, Connaughton, Portis, Nwora, Hill.
That's fair. And rumor has it, and NBA DFS pointed out in the Discord, that if you click on Portis' blurb, he's reported to play about 15 minutes tonight. Who knows? Could that stretch into 20? It could. I don't know. You know how it's like when they say we're going to monitor player X's minutes tonight and he plays like 40, I do like that he had the night off last night though. I think 20 is possible. It's just, I don't know. What's about 15 minutes mean? Does it mean maybe 20? Who knows? I don't know, but I agree with you. It is risky, but it does keep his ownership down. I like the upside there. And thanks for your Keith Eyster rankings. Appreciate it. On the flip side of this, like, are you running this thing back with anybody? If for like tournament lineups, are you more, if you want this game to be close? Utah is typically a head scratcher when they're all healthy, and it looks like, we didn't have Mike Conley the other night, but he appears to be good to go for tonight, which kind of stinks. So it kind of complicates things. Do you need a run back here, or do you prefer a run back? If so, what direction do you look at? I mean, we know the Bucks typically play good defense, but they're missing Middleton, they're missing Lopez, so it's not the same Bucks team. And Holiday, of course, who's probably one of the best on-ball defenders we've seen. That might not affect pace though, and they play at, I don't know, they might be the pace leader still. I'm not sure, but they're top 3 or 4 for sure in terms of pace, which would speed up Utah, which is another kind of bumping up the totem pole here in terms of likability for those Jazz players. So I don't know. You're looking at Donovan Mitchell. You're looking at Gobert. I mean, what are you looking at here?
Yeah, when Middleton had not been ruled out, I didn't have any interest with Conley back just because they have so many bodies there in Utah. I think you have to have a little interest now. Yeah, Donovan Mitchell is probably the guy, but he's priced up quite a bit, so I don't love it. I honestly, I like the Portland Charlotte game better as a game stack. I mean, talk about a game that should be paced up. I really like the game environment for that one. I will say, I don't think you need to run it back with Utah because we're playing Milwaukee for the value. Like, all of their pieces are a bit underpriced. Plus Giannis gets a huge usage bump. So it's not a spot that we're playing necessarily for game environment. It's more value plays and salary driven than it is game environment driven. So I think I prefer the Portland Charlotte game as a game stack if I'm looking to do that. But I don't mind pieces from Utah, but they're not my favorite.
No, I agree with you. And you might actually get some decent ownership on some of these Jazz guys if you're multi-entering. Gobert, we have projected at 11% on DK. Royce O'Neal, a lot of minutes, not a lot of usage. Had a really good postseason though last season. Donovan Mitchell, I mean, if I'm running it back with anybody, it's probably Mitchell in that pace. If I'm, playing single entry or something like that. But it just seems like a strange game. But you're right. We're not playing this for game environment. Let's talk about a game we're going to play for game environment, which is Portland and Charlotte. And Lillard got off to that slow start. And, still not really shooting the ball totally well, but, shot over 50% from the floor against the Clippers. He's only eclipsed 40 FanDuel points once so far this season. and his FanDuel price has reflected that 8,400. Like, you just get a super high floor. We got him projected at almost 60% on FanDuel though. So talk to me about the Blazers here, or the game in general, and then we'll hop over to Charlotte.
Yeah, game in general, just two weak defensive teams. I believe I can pull it up real quick, but I believe as of the early season, obviously, but Charlotte is playing it out. If I remember from my research, it was third fastest pace in the league, and Portland is up there in like the top 6 as well. So both of these teams play extremely fast. Both are weak defensively. That's all the makings that we're looking for in a back and forth shootout. Game total reflects that. Point spread reflects that. Like, high total, close spread is exactly what we're looking for. So everything we look for in a game environment for a back and forth shootout is there. Breaking down the pieces a little bit, I mean, you touched on a lot of the stuff for Lillard. Like, the ceiling on this guy when he's knocking down his shot is as high as there is out there. Shot a little bit better in a tough matchup against the Clippers. But the price tag has come down because we haven't seen that explosion spot for him. So you said it, 8,400 on FanDuel is way underpriced. Perfectly in play for me as well on DraftKings at 9,400. If you can fit him and Giannis with this Bucks value that opened up now, I like doing that. McCollum is always in play. I don't like playing Dame and McCollum together because it seems like they lean on one or the other depending on who's the hot hand. So I have a tough time stacking those two. So I probably will avoid that tonight. But I don't mind some of the value pieces. Nurkic is somebody I would plug in for Portland. And then if you're looking for value, I don't know that we need it as much as I was considering it earlier. But Covington is in play. He's a guy that sees the floor, hasn't produced very much, but he's going to be out there. So if you get the right game environment, he could see a little bit of an uptick. But again, with the Bucks value, I'm not as interested in as I was in that earlier in the day.
Portland has just so many guys. There's just so many guys in Portland now. It was kind of that situation the last year and a half, but now Norman Powell's back.
Yeah.
You get rid of Melo, that's fine. You bring in Larry Nance, who was a good permanent guy in Cleveland. Thought he was going to have a larger role. And Nasir Little's trying to carve his way into the rotation here a little bit too. They have so many guys that just cut into each other's time and usage that is maddening to figure out. Covington, 400. I feel like 2 years ago, that's like he might get that on blocks and steals alone. Finally played 30 plus minutes against the Clippers though. But again, how much more will Norman Powell play kind of thing affect Covington's role? I mean, he only shot the ball more than 6 times once this year. So it's just a real headache on the Portland side of the ball. I don't have much interest outside of the 3, higher usage upside guys, McCollum, Dame, and Nurkic that we talked about. And honestly, at McCollum's price on FanDuel, I mean, he's only 200 more than Lillard. So I understand, McCollum's under 10% on a 4-gamer. Yeah, you can go overweight if you want. I just have a hard time seeing him, have killer upside at 8,600 on this slate. Like, to me, I don't want to say I don't care about ownership on Dame, but honestly, at this point, at this 4-gamer, which is disgusting, like, I'm playing Lillard. I'm not playing McCollum. What are your thoughts there? I do think McCollum's slightly overpriced. I get it. It's a 4-gamer and it's kind of out of whack, but
yeah, I agree. It'd be strictly ownership play if you're trying to go McCollum over Lillard, and you just hope that Lillard can't find a shot in this game, and McCollum is the one that does it. So, yeah, especially on FanDuel with McCollum being priced over Lillard, like, the only reason you're trying to do that is because no one else is going to play McCollum.
Agreed. The Bucks did announce their starting lineup. Don't think we have surprises there. George Hill, Grayson Allen, Pat Connaughton, Giannis, and Giannis. So, should be interesting to see what they do with Rudy Gobert. And, when and if he's matched up on Giannis, I don't know. That could get ugly quick. I just like the spot for Giannis so much, all things considered. Even if the Bucks were healthy, I think I was playing Giannis tonight. Was just what he's been doing in the past. Charlotte's side of things, like, it is also a headache. I talk to the Chief a lot. We do our podcast. He's a big Hornets guy. I was laughing at Eric Beimfor's tweet about Charlotte's coach having a Ferrari and keeping it parked in the garage. Like, why are we not playing LaMelo ball? He only cracked 30 minutes twice this season. Last 2 games, he's 6 for 28 from the floor. I get it. We're going to see some regression. He's not that bad of a shooter. And when he's gotten there this year, he had 5 steals against Cleveland, and I don't even know if he hit 5 times value in that game. So LaMelo in this game environment, you would think he should play 35 minutes, and you would think, oh, it's a no-brainer. Like LaMelo against Dame, like let's run it back, baby. But I don't know. I have my reservations, especially with Rozier back for Charlotte as well. I hate
further
that.
Complicates this.
I hate that so much. Miles Bridges is expensive on FanDuel, 8K, but he's been the lone consistent contributor in terms of production and minutes. I like Bridges a lot more at 7,400 on DK. I don't mind playing Bridges regardless of Rozier's status. I mean, he's shot the ball 20 times in 4 games so far this season. He's ripping down rebounds. I think he has a super high floor with a 50-point ceiling, dare I say. Especially if LaMelo's, hovering around 30 minutes, then that's more time without him on the court. And we're seeing massive minutes from Miles Bridges. So how do you decipher the Hornets? I mean, LaMelo's still projected to carry 25% ish ownership on FanDuel and about 14% on DraftKings. How are you attacking the Charlotte team in this game, Keith?
Yeah, it is a bit of a mess. And if it wasn't a 4-game slate, maybe it's a situation that you'd avoid despite the game environment. But with only 4 games on the slate, I mean, we've got to find something. It's LaMelo that I'm going to chase after. I agree. The usage has been frustrating, especially if he settles into the mid 20s or low upper 20s minutes. You're really looking for him to get 30, 32 minutes at least. With Rozier back, I don't know. I'm not super confident that it's going to happen. But with a little bit of a faster pace, might have a few extra possessions to pay off that elevated price tag, even if he doesn't crack the 30-minute mark. Chance he could get there just from game environment, fast pace, that type of thing. So LaMelo is my main target here. I do like Bridges. Don't mind a shot on Hayward if you want to do that. Probably not touching Rozier in his first game back after a couple off, but yeah, another convoluted situation.
Yeah, I'm out on Rozier. Hayward's price is fine as a safe option who could give you 6 times value. I mean, I guess, we have him with a ceiling of 46 on RG. I don't know. I just think Hayward is safe. I don't know if he's in a winner tonight, but I think he's safe. I think he's fine. My preference is Bridges, I think, especially on DraftKings. Plumlee, what do you think about Plumlee tonight?
I don't love him. What was the situation? Did he get in foul trouble last game or something? He only played 18 minutes. I didn't look into that. Probably need to check into that real quick here. But yeah, 32 minutes before that. So I'm not sure what was going on with his rotation in his last game.
No, it looks like he played a clean first half against Miami, right?
Yep.
Weird. I mean, does PJ Washington back affect Plumlee's role? Him being back off the bench now? It could. Got about 13 minutes before a lock here. We'll dive into some questions soon. So I don't know. I guess I'm not super interested in that price tag for Plumlee and kind of the uncertainty in the role. But if he was cheaper.
That's what I was like with Washington back. Just too many bodies here to look in any deeper. That's why it's pretty much LaMelo or nothing from Charlotte.
Okay, makes sense. And I kind of like Bridges with floor and upside there. Detroit, Brooklyn. I feel like this might be a little bit quicker of a game to analyze. A little worried about a blowout here. I am. Josh Jackson is the one who's carrying a ton of ownership on Detroit side. 38% we haven't projected at on FanDuel. Super cheap. What are your thoughts about the Detroit Pistons, Keith?
Yeah, Jackson's the clear value. Cunningham's going to be resting again after making his debut last night, but back to back, they're going to sit him out tonight. So you should see Jackson back in the starting lineup. Definitely interested in him. As far as him versus the Bucks guys, I think there's Bucks guys that outscore him, but finding the right Bucks guy is a problem. So I think Jackson is very safe to contribute well enough to pay off his price tag pretty easily. I do like the Bucks. If I knew which Bucks guy it was, I would like the Bucks guy better. But with that difficult situation, I'm going to mix Jackson in just as much as some of the Bucks guys, I think. Jeremy Grant would be kind of the spend up option I would look to. Has missed some time with injury. I think he can get back into that high usage role that we saw quite a bit last year. When he's been out there in the last two, he has played over 35 minutes. Usage rate has kind of settled in like the low 20s though. So I think there's room up on that. Certainly not scared of the matchup. Brooklyn plays fast. They don't care to play much defense. So I do like this spot for Jeremy Grant quite a bit.
Yeah, and he's not super high in price that if it's fairly close for 3.5 quarters, he could still get to where you need him to get to survive. If the game's close, then yeah, I mean, very fair price on DraftKings at 6,700. A very fair price for the situation. It'll be interesting to see how things shake out when Cunningham is fully inserted into this offense. Utah starters are the normal starters: Conley, Mitchell, Bogdanovich, Royce O'Neal, and Gobert. So nobody taking any time off for Utah tonight. I'm with you. I like Jeremy Grant in all formats there. Josh Jackson, I'm just going to plug him in, I think, and hopefully outscores 2 of the 3 or 4 Bucks or something like that. And maybe he outscores all of them. I don't know. So I'm with you on that. It's kind of congested in terms of playing time otherwise with Isaiah Stewart and Kelly Olynyk in the mix now. Then you have Trey Lyles was on Detroit now for no reason too. So you have all these guys jockeying for some playing time. And Sadiq Bey without other people off the court is just a little too expensive for me at 6,500. I'm with you there. Brooklyn side of things, Keith. We finally saw a little bit of James Harden look like James Harden the other night. So for a 4-game slate, Durant at 31% and Harden at around 20% on DraftKings. I mean, this is a time where if you want to try to get an edge here, and maybe the Bucks game's a blowout, maybe Detroit keeps us a little bit closer with Harden and company. But if I'm playing Harden or if I'm playing Durant, I'm pairing him with Jeremy Grant. And I'm probably gonna have Josh Jackson anyway. So it's kind of my input there on the Nets situation.
Yep, completely right with you on that. Going to run it back if I'm trying to get one of these guys in there. I think Harden wasn't shooting free throws at all. Saw in that game against Indiana, he got to the line 19 times. So just like you said, vintage Harden. I prefer Durant in this spot. I know he's a little bit more expensive, but he's so much more consistent for me. I'm not getting much Harden in there today, even though it's only a 4-game slate. I like Lillard with that environment and Giannis as the top overall play. So I'm having trouble getting to Harden.
Yeah, I'm with you. Bruce Brown will carry a little bit of ownership, but I think the ownership projections are about right. We have him at about 15% on DraftKings, and he is my least favorite out of all the Bucks. Out of all the Bucks guys, probably, and Josh Jackson. I think Bruce Brown is my least favorite, but I totally get it. If maybe you're stacking this game, you could play Bruce Brown. I don't have a ton of interest in anybody else on the Nets, to be perfectly honest with you. Do you?
Joe Harris has a nice price. Just one other one that I'd throw out there, but yeah, I mean, he's in that same conversation with Brown, probably behind the Bucks guys.
All right, I'm with you. We got one more game here, about 8 minutes. Not a ton of questions in the chat, so we'll spend a little bit of time here on this Lakers game. And they're playing the Houston Rockets. The Lakers, God, what a strange season it's been so far, man. Does this game stay remotely close, or is that too hard for me to ask, of a question for me to ask you with what we've seen from the Lakers so far?
Yeah, I mean, on paper, you would think no way that it stays close. We do still have LeBron questionable. I mean, I think we're going to see that every day again this season. He did play yesterday, or it was the day before, not a back-to-back for them. So he was in there 2 games ago. I don't know. I assume that he plays. I haven't heard anything that he's trending towards not playing. So with everybody in there, Lakers at full strength, I mean, it's just their price tags are out of whack. There's too much, they're all priced too high for what they're going to produce, in my opinion. It's really hard for me to play anybody on the Lakers at all.
And there's blowout potential. That being said, That being said, what do you do on the flip side? Like, if you play any of these guys, do you need some Lakers exposure, or is it a situation where there's still some unknown and uncertainty with some of these guys' roles? And it seems like some of these guys can pop at any time, whether it's Deshaun Tate, having 44 against OKC, 31 against Boston, then he laid back-to-back duds and didn't play a ton. And now it seems like Jalen Green has just been chucking all season, still not shooting too great. And of course, Christian Wood, what did he double in like 16 or 17% of his games last season or something like that? So of course Wood is up at 8,100, and you kind of need the game to be remotely close for someone like that to get there. But I think you can play Jalen Green, maybe like regardless of situation and who else is in the rest of your lineup. Other than that, for me, this is my least favorite game with everything considered of the night.
Yeah, I agree. It's my least favorite one too. Kevin Porter is back as well, so gets even more complicated for the Rockets. I think I like taking a shot on Porter if I was going to chase anybody on the Rockets. Wood is a little bit priced up, harder for him to get there. Jalen Green has a nice price. We just haven't seen it out of him yet. So, it would definitely be one of those three for me, but I think I lean to Porter.
Cool. 5 minutes before lock here. Let's get a couple questions here. There's a couple floating in the Discord quick, Keith. So let's tackle those. All right. Let's see. Alex said he's running Giannis and Dame. Who are you spending for in DK Cash? And do we like Donovan Mitchell? I think we're both spending for Giannis in all formats and definitely in cash. Are you with me there still, Keith?
Yeah, Giannis is absolutely the first spend.
Okay. Do we like Donovan Mitchell? I like Mitchell for tournaments. I really do at that pace. And I don't think that defense is going to be, I think it's going to be a shell of what it typically is. So I like it for kind of larger field stuff. I'd consider running it back with Mitchell. You're going to have a ton of Bucks exposure most likely. So I do not hate that.
Yeah, I think I would prefer Durant for cash, but I do like Mitchell for tournaments for sure.
Okay, yeah, you're right. For cash, I'm with you. Mitchell's a tournament option. Good. Glad you caught me there. DK GPP large field, what studs to force in, or are you leaning more towards a balanced build? Honestly, for me, I'm taking my stand on Giannis and playing him regardless. There's too much value. I'm not sure about some of these like Christian Wood is a balanced guy I typically would like to roster because he's typically under owned. I just have a hard time getting to him, and I don't like that game if all the Lakers are healthy. So I'm more stars and scrubby today, and typically I don't always go that way.
Yeah, I think some of the Bucks value gets there. Probably you have to pick the right two to make it work in a tournament. I wouldn't probably go higher than 3 of them in a tournament with Giannis. I'm playing Giannis, so 2 value guys. But yeah, with that Bucks value, I think it's pretty easy to pay up for 2 and go more star scrubs.
Cool. 6:56 Eastern, guys. Start wrapping some things up. Here's a cash game question for FanDuel for you. Harden and Gobert or KD and Mitchell, Keith?
So you're not playing Giannis in cash then? Give me the Durant side of that.
That's tough. I'm with you too. I'm with you, but I'm playing Giannis in cash. DK GPP large field 2-1 stacks. How many Bucks value do you fit? You know what? There's a handful of Bucks that should play 30 minutes if the game's fairly close. You could play Giannis and 2 value guys. People are gonna toss in $4, and in the perfect world, it may work out, right? So there's just a massive void without Middleton, Andrew, and Lopez. So if there's a time to do it, it's probably today.
Yeah, I agree. 4 is too much for me for a tournament because I want ceiling games when I'm playing a tournament. So I'm going to limit it to 3 total. I see there is definitely a scenario where 4 could work. I think they're cheap enough, and there's so much usage to be distributed that 4 of them could work. But for me, I limited it to 3.
Had a LaMelo or Jalen Green question for FanDuel GPP. I'm just siding with the LaMelo upside every time there. Big salary difference there. So I'm hoping you can maybe, if I'm reading that correctly, spend up with the Jalen Green saving somewhere else. If you can get up to Giannis or something and you don't have him, kind of go that direction. Keith, it's 6:58, guys. Final, lock them in here. 2 Olynyk questions for you, Keith. DK Cash, Olynyk or Jalen Green? There's just 2. I like Jalen Green. What do you think?
Yeah, Green has more upside for sure.
I think so. There's just so many bodies in Detroit, but I get it. maybe if one more was out, I'd be in. Kelly, another Olynyk question for FanDuel GPPs. It's a small gamer when we're talking about
right.
Kelly with Sadiq Bey and everybody else in there. I know Kelly is another guy who's been performing on a permanent basis the last year or so. Large field stuff, yeah. Would I feel comfortable running him in a tournament with 200 to 300 people in it? Probably not. And I wouldn't play Olynyk in cash. What are your thoughts on Olynyk, Keith?
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to get to Grant. If I'm playing Detroit, I really am. I don't know.
He has upside, but it's kind of like a Bobby Portis situation. It's risky. But he has upside. I don't. It's a tough one. Detroit in that larger spread too. It's a tough one. 659 guys, lock them in. Make sure you have your lineup saved. Thanks for sticking with us here, and hopefully you push the right buttons with the Bucks value here. But yeah, I mean, Giannis seems like the clear cut, probably blowout proof with his usage tonight as well. So I think he has all the doors and windows kind of covered tonight.
Yep, I agree with you. Yeah, if we had the key to the Bucks, I think you'd take down the slate easily, but we'll see how it plays out.
Cool. 7:00, guys. Thanks for sticking with us here. I'll bring Devin in at the end of our NFL Showdown show. So we will be back with the Showdown show for Sunday night, and Dak Prescott did get ruled out while we were sitting here. So if you were planning on Dak playing, it's back to the drawing board for the next, hour plus or so, but we'll see you in a little bit. Keith, anything else before we check out for a little bit?
Nope. Let's go see what we can figure out with this Cooper Rush stuff and if we're going to play any Cowboys.
All right. So for Keith and Devin, I'm Justin. We'll see you in a little bit, guys.